All right, so again, thank you for joining us for our MicroAge Talks Technology webinar. My name is Maria Fiore. I'm the Director of Operations for MicroAge, and I'm joined today by my colleague Eric Landry, who is the Director of Business Development. And so he's going to be in the background making sure that everything is working for us. And today's webinar will focus on a new service that Microsoft is making available to organizations called Microsoft 365 Copilot. So to help us understand what the product or service is and how it has the potential to really change the way we work, we've asked Alexandre Laplante, who's the subject matter expert for Microsoft 365 from SureWeb, one of our trusted partners, to provide us with an overview of M365 Copilot. Welcome, Alex, and thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. As you know, I'm a huge fan of this service, so I probably would have, come anyway to talk about it.
Having listened to you on the French webinar earlier today, you are definitely an expert and a fan and excited about this product. So thanks for doing this for us. Just before, so I forgot to change the slide. Sorry, that's us. And then just a couple of housekeeping notes. First of all attendees are muted to reduce background noise. I'm pretty sure everybody noticed that. So yes, I just thought I'd mention it. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation by using the questions panel of the webinar tool. And Alex, I don't think mine's being interrupted with questions, so put them in the questions panel, and we'll take them as we go along. The webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be sent to you in the next few hours. So that you can either review it or share it with people that you think would benefit from listening in. In the same email, you will also receive the link to download the ebook that we talked about in our invitation that we're making available to you. And the other thing too is if you would like a copy of the PowerPoint, you can download it in the handout section of the webinar tool. So you can go on usually the right side. There's a bunch of different things that you can do, and one of them is the handouts, and you can go and download that the PowerPoint there. Lastly, at the end of the webinar, you will receive a short 3-question survey to gather your feedback. The feedback that you give us is really important to us and helps us improve future webinars. So if you can just take a moment to give us your feedback, we'd really appreciate that. So before handing over things to Alex, I'm going to take a minute to give a brief overview of who MicroAge is for those who may not know us. So MicroAge is a Canadian technology service provider with 39 locations across Canada. I lost 10 of them all of a sudden. We've been providing IT services and solutions to our clients since 1981. The key for us is understanding your organization, your operations, your clients, your people, your goals, your challenges, your opportunities. That understanding your organization helps us recommend and provide the IT services and solutions that are right for you. So that's us in a nutshell. And with that, I will give Alex the floor.
Thank you very much, Maria. So for today, because AI is such a wide subject and there's lots of different things going on in the world about it, we're trying to make it as simple as possible and focus our presentation on what is Microsoft 365 Copilot specifically. Then we will talk about how to prepare your organization, because even though you don't have this service yet, there's a lot of things that you can do today to start preparing so that you have a better experience when it becomes available. Afterwards, we will talk a little bit about some insights on, Copilot itself and on AI in general. Some pitfalls to avoid, some good pointers to do, and we will open the floor for a full Q&A at the end, should there be any remainder of questions. But if I don't know if this crowd is competitive, but if they want to be as good as the French crowd earlier, they did participate a lot during the presentation and asked questions throughout. So it is not an interruption. It is really our pleasure to, kind of answer those questions, in the moment when you have them. So please don't hesitate to ask those.
Excellent. So what is Microsoft 365 Copilot, Alex?
That's a great question. Microsoft 365 Copilot, the closest thing we can, compare it to is ChatGPT, because ChatGPT took the world by storm almost a year ago today. and broke all sorts of records with, user adoption, hype, what it could do. Lots of issues at the educational level, potential cheating and things like that. And then, some privacy issues with, what is the data being used, the things that you enter in the service, is that being used to train the model, and, any company secrets that could be kind of leaked that way. So there's a lot of, confusion, uncertainty, and fear around that. Microsoft 365 Copilot is a service that does use large language models like ChatGPT, but it is not on the OpenAI, which is the company that made the ChatGPT. It's not on the OpenAI servers. It really is on the Azure service. It's the same technology, the GPT technology, and also other large language models. So whenever you use Microsoft 365 Copilot, the way you want to use it is through a prompt. So it's a question, a statement, some instructions, anything that you can write using what's called natural language. So instead of having to learn some sort of coding or, some sort of sequence, you just kind of talk to it the way you would, talk to someone. And since it is all within the Microsoft ecosphere, what we call like the Microsoft graph, anything that you ask will be grounded in your enterprise context. For example, if I'm asking Copilot, what does my day look like today? Well, it's not going to say, well, your car is in the garage, you have to pick up your kid after school, and you're low on milk. It's not going to be things like that. It's going to be, oh, you have a meeting at 1 p.m., you have a presentation at 2 p.m., and there are 4 emails that seem to be urgent that have yet to be answered. So it's always going to be grounded in that company data. That company data is anything that's, again, what's called the Microsoft graph. So it could be your messages, through team chat, through Teams meetings. It could be files that you've uploaded to SharePoint OneDrive, some SharePoint sites, anything in your calendar. So anything that touches Microsoft on the cloud is part of what Copilot has access to whenever you're interacting with it with all the different applications on the Microsoft ecosphere. What it is itself, if you want to move to the next slide, it is an add-on. So an add-on is something that requires a base license. So if you think of it in other terms, it would be like a trailer that you would, or a hitch that you would, tack on next to a truck. So the trailer itself can't go anywhere. You need to have the truck to be able to get the trailer moving. So with Copilot, you will require to have a Microsoft 365 subscription. It starts at business standard to be eligible, then business premium, and 365 E3 and E5. So when we go up the scale of licensing, and from business premium all the way through E5, it is the same experience. But for those that want to stay on business standard, the experience will be different because of the nature of that license, not the nature of Copilot, but the nature of business standard, which does not include all of the security tools that would allow Copilot to scour your tenant, your organization for all of that Microsoft data that's shared. So for example, if you have business standard and you haven't yourself uploaded the employee handbook with the vacation time, and then you ask Copilot, how much vacation do I have left this year? It's not going to have the answer. It's not going to know that answer for you. But if you have at least business premium and someone on the HR side has uploaded the employee handbook with the policies for vacations and made that shareable within the environment, Copilot will be able to give you that information right away. So if you want the full experience from Copilot, think about business premium and above, and not the business standard. The add-on itself is $30 US per month per user. And we're going to try to dispel a little bit of confusion right now from things that have been heard, because it is available for what we call enterprise agreement customers. So we're talking about major companies, the Fortune 100s. This has been made available since November 1st. It is not a catalog. Go into the portal, just add it, as what you want. For those customers, they have to apply with their Microsoft representative to be able to get Copilot. They have to have a minimum order of 300 add-on licenses in order to get it. They have to also say what their intent is to use Copilot to make sure they're not using it for nefarious reasons. And if they overuse Copilot right now, if they have excessive usage of Copilot right now, Microsoft has said that they would potentially throttle those users right now. So it is not, like they have early access, even though EA sounds like early access. It's not like they have the full service yet. It is something that is, kind of coming. And why is that? Why didn't Microsoft just kind of launch it like they do with everything? It is because of the nature of the service. So artificial intelligence is very resource intensive, and Microsoft wanted to be careful when rolling it out, not to, have too much demand on the servers and kind of cause some adverse effects and some, kind of less than desirable type of results. So they're slowly rolling it out. Yesterday, they announced that their new proprietary AI chip, so instead of relying on the NVIDIA chips, they're going to have their own chips. They're going to be available in their servers as early as January. So that means that for the CSP channel, which stands for Cloud Solution Provider, which if you want to think about it, it's a lot like an authorized dealership. Like um, if you like, I mean, less now, but if you like doing any type of landscaping and all of that, and you ever had a John Deere, well, and anything broken, anything new parts that you had to do, you had to go to a John Deere authorized reseller. Well, it's the same thing with CSP. So if you're not one of those Fortune 100 companies and you want to buy Microsoft products, it's best to go to a CSP. And of course, all of the MicroAge franchises are CSP. So this would be a great way to get access to Copilot once it becomes available. Expected first quarter of 2024. Since it's all dependent on the capacity of the Microsoft servers, there's no official date, but we do expect it to be early in 2024. For the other channels, so going to the Microsoft website directly, just as a single user trying to buy a Copilot, or if you are in the academic, nonprofit, or government type of segments, there has not been any dates announced, and it would be at the very least 6 months after it's available on CSP, but more likely a year or so later. But of course, anyone in those channels can still buy the commercial license once it is available on CSP, and there will not be any minimum purchase on CSP. So if you're an organization with 10 users and you just want one user to have a Copilot when it's available on CSP, you will be able to make that purchase. It's not going to be a minimum 300 user purchase for your 10 user enterprise. It will make sense.
We did get a question from Deborah. It says, so is this like Alexa for 365?
Yeah, very much. It is like Alexa, like Siri, or if you're a fan of Marvel, like Jarvis, the AI that talked to Iron Man, Tony Stark on there. And as you interact with it, as you get better at it, it will feel more and more like your true personal assistant. So yes, that's a great question. That's a great image.
Way to look at it. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm going to apologize. These are build slides. So when Alex is talking, you may not see the whole slide yet, but it'll be coming. So the next couple of slides are going to look like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So for the next slides, we wanted to give you a little bit of an idea, like kind of a couple of pointers on how Copilot will affect your day-to-day. So in Outlook, it will allow you to review your recent emails. Why would you want to do that? Well, let's say it's a Monday, or you're coming back from vacation, or you had to do something off-site and then you come back in. Well, instead of doing a triage, sorting your emails, spending half hour to do that, well, you can ask Copilot to do that for you, and it will point out which important emails you should answer first, which ones have action items from you. And for certain emails, you can even say, hey, reply with Copilot. You build that first draft of the response of the email. In 2023, we have a lot of email replies that are a lot like courtesy, to just kind of say, yes, thank you, yes, you did well. Well, it's very easy to have Copilot do that for us, because it knows all the right words to stay polite with someone and close a conversation. Sometimes you will receive, an email that's been forwarded and forwarded and forwarded and forwarded, and the thread is, super long, and you're trying to make sense of it. Could take you tens of minutes, a half hour, a full hour. With Copilot, seconds. You can ask it, what are the important parts of this? What are the action items for me? Anything, that I should be worried about? Again, like you would ask a personal assistant who took the time to read the whole email for you, knows what you care about, and then gives you those pointers. In Excel, assuming the image has come up, it is also a great way to be able to finally get your data to talk back to you. So some of you may be super smart when it comes to Excel, whiz with the formulas, the pivot tables, and all of that, but most of us probably struggle with that. I can eventually get a table going, but it will take me, a lot longer than a normal person who's good at Excel would do, but no longer. With Copilot, the little sidebar comes up. I ask it a question, make a chart out of this. Which are the best sales for this quarter? Are there any trends for these products? So you just have that conversation as if you had that personal assistant who's really, really good in Excel that can make those new charts for you. So this one is really helpful to get that productivity going in something that I would say most of us didn't excel at.
Yeah, pivot tables, the bane of my
Mhm.
existence. We're moving on to Word, but one of the things that came up this morning is like, so this is like replacing the macros in Excel and Word and stuff like that, right?
Exactly. Your children will not know what macros are, much like, probably some of you don't even know what an 8-track is. So that's the thing with technology. It just keeps going away and it keeps progressing and moving forward. And that is one of the things that's going to be really, really good about like no one. I mean, I'm sure some of you really liked those macros and all that, but you'll see just talking to Copilot will accomplish the same thing and sometimes even better.
And Sonia enjoyed your Excel pun.
Oh, she did. Okay, thank you. um, for for Microsoft Word, this is the ultimate cure for the blank page syndrome. Whenever you have to write something and like 5, 6 keywords about it, but you don't know the outline, what you want to do. Well, Copilot will be able to create a great first draft for you. Sometimes you get licensing agreements or legal documents or financial information that comes in a Word format or PDF, and it's pages upon pages upon pages. And even though you try to control F to find some places, it is hard sometimes to make sure you've understood everything. But with Copilot, within seconds, you're able to find out the important points. You're able to ask it questions about the document as if it learned the whole document by heart and is able to give you more answers for it. Also, if you're taking notes with OneNote and you want those notes from a conversation with a customer or something like that to become a proposal, well, you can ask Copilot to take your notes and draft the proposal for you. Like with everything in AI right now, it is always super important to verify what has been written. Copilot does come with all of these little warning messages, verify the data, for accuracy. And one advantage that comes with Copilot over some other AI tools is that you will always have the references of anything that it states to be able to, kind of cross-reference and double check. So if it says something about a report, some sales numbers for the last quarter, you will have the link to that document and you will be able to find, to verify that it has gotten the right data, giving you that peace of mind that, all of that time saved isn't just gibberish.
Hmm. Again, this one
Copilot.
takes a little longer to build, but go ahead.
Yeah, so Copilot for PowerPoint, this one as well. Like say you've taken that Word document and you have that proposal ready, but you really think a PowerPoint presentation, some visual presentation would drive it home, would really help you make that sale. Well, you can ask Copilot to create a presentation based on that proposal that you've just made. Again, it's going to be a great first draft. You're going to want to modify, add certain things, remove certain things. Whenever it comes to the image creation from it, instead of having to use Google, sniping tools, worrying about copyright and all of that, Copilot can generate brand new images because, like I said before, it's not just GPT. It also has access to DAL-E3, which is a large language model to create images. And recently, Microsoft, much like a lot of the other AI companies, has said that they will defend anyone that gets into any type of copyright issue with the images that are created. So you can rest assured you can create those brand new images, upload that to YouTube, your website, without the worry of it being taken down, getting a cease and desist letter or anything like that. So it's really, really, really good for that. And finally, on PowerPoint, since it's one of those tools that uh, very, very few people are able to master, especially when it comes to, like the standard formatting, having the right font everywhere, making sure the slides follow each other, that, the switch between them is smooth and all of that. There's some sort of carousel option. I've seen like great videos on that of things I could never accomplish. Well, now Copilot will be able to do that for you because it does know how PowerPoint works and it understands you asking these questions. So this one will be really, really good for people who have to make presentations.
Just before we go into the Teams one, Ahmad has a question that says, can Copilot query files, data in Azure file and blob shares? I don't know what blob shares are, but
Yes, anything that's in the Microsoft ecosystem. So anything on Azure would count. Anything on Azure Arc would count. Azure Blob Storage, anything like that. Anything in the archiving for SharePoint, OneDrive. Yes, it can have access to it. And you can even, kind of, well, as of yesterday's announcements, you can even kind of coach it onto which documents to look for first whenever you're trying to set some sort of baseline. Think of a contact center and you want all of your frontline employees to have a certain standard of responses for the most common questions. Well, you can program that into Copilot Studio. Oh, I think you went on mute or...
sorry about that. Yeah, we have just another question from Hugo
Mhm.
that says,
Please.
will it integrate with Power BI, for example?
Yes, absolutely. Because again, Power BI is something that's available on the Microsoft stack. It's one of the Microsoft technologies. So yes, you will be able to have Copilot help you with your Power BI dashboards, Power BI creations, or even understanding the insights from what you're seeing on those Power BI dashboards created by other people. So absolutely, that's going to be really, really, really good for that.
Excellent questions. Thank you. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Alex.
Yeah, and then the last one for Teams, for this one, I would say, have you ever wished that a meeting, could have just been an email? Well, your prayers have been answered. With Copilot in Teams, as long as you've been invited to that meeting, even if you don't show up or if you show up late, you can catch up. You can get the recap of the meeting. You can find out if there's any action items that were supposed to be related to you. You can find insights about the people in the meeting that have that have participated. If they seemed hesitant or certain things, if it seems like you can ask for suggestions on, what to write as a response email from what they've seen in the meeting. And all of that is done in seconds. This is my, the meeting recap is my favorite new thing from Copilot because, full transparency, I am one of the lucky, very, very lucky few people to have true early access to Copilot. It's more in the beta type phase when it comes to the CSP. Like not all of the services are exactly like they are in the videos, but everything in Teams is, I think, the most mature service from Copilot. So just on the team services alone, I think it's worth the price because after every single one of my meetings, I just hit a button, recap the meeting, and then it gives me a very nice breakdown with like, bullet point style, bold on the things that are important, knows who said what, who needs to do what action items later. So seconds after the meeting is done, I have a summary email with action items ready to go. And anyone else that would have traditionally been the note taker in the meeting, or sometimes in the meeting you want to listen more than you talk, you want to make sure you write those important points down, you miss other parts of the conversation, or maybe an opportunity for cross-selling if you're in sales, or to improve customer service if that's what you're doing. So now you can have your full attention to the meeting, to the conversation that's taking place, knowing that everything will be available for you for the summary. No action items will be missed. This one really, again, is the best. I
Game
really
changer.
couldn't do without it. Yeah.
And that's one of the things I was going to ask, and we had a conversation about this, but we've seen some transcription tools, and then I saw one a few months ago, and it's like it wasn't picking up all the language. If
Mhm.
people maybe have an accent, or they talk like me, they talk too fast sometimes, or warble their mumble their words or whatever. But so you get the transcription and you think, I have no idea what this, like who said what and where and when, right? So how do you find the transcription though?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, so if you look at the transcripts itself, that comes with the file meeting, like, because right now with Teams, you can turn on transcriptions and you will see a text file of everyone who's spoken and all that. But you will see those same artifacts that you just mentioned of,
Okay.
the transcription not understanding who said what, or, maybe they mumbled something, or, they used like a thick accent and like the transcript has it as a different word or something. But then when you look at the summary from Copilot, because it is, the I in AI, the intelligence, it
Okay.
will figure out what they meant to say, what should have been written on the transcript. And in the summary, you don't have any of those things. You don't have that gibberish. As with everything, of course, you want to double check. You want to confirm that
Of course.
everything is correct. But whenever you want to check, you will see you have the references. So whenever it says this is an action item because so and so said this, you can go to that snippet of the conversation and verify that they did indeed say that. So again, always that peace of mind that you have confidence in the data that's generated from this service.
I guess too, the point there is this remains a tool, right? Like, so you
Hmm.
have to verify things, right? So
Yep.
okay, and so what we're going to do now is we're going to share a video. So the video kind of brings it all together, right, Alex? Like what you've been talking about for the last little bit.
Exactly. And so the goal of watching this video is not to want you to become a marketer for a Arizona warehouse firm, but to kind of see on your day-to-day, how would this apply to you? Because the Microsoft 365 chat is kind of like the single dashboard that you will use the most whenever you're using a Copilot, because it has access to Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook, and all of that. And this is this great little video. It's about 4 minutes long. It's one of those, like, make it real now. Show me a use case. Show me what it would be like from day to day. So please pay attention to all of the little things that they do and how much time it would have taken them to do it manually. Because again, all of these things that Copilot is doing for the person are things that they could have done themselves. You can walk from Montreal to Vancouver. You can do it. Well, I mean, most people can do it. But if you drive or take a plane, you'll get there much quicker. It's accomplishing the same goal, just much faster.
Just before though, Hugo has a really good question before we get to the video. So he says, and don't apologize, Hugo, for having questions. He says, under SharePoint, can Copilot identify who have access to a certain folder or file under a tenant?
Well, Copilot itself will not be able to decide who has access to what. It's the company policies on identity governance, sensitivity labels that will. So you're kind of bringing up what we're going to talk a little bit after the video of very important steps that companies need to make right now just to prepare for the upcoming Copilot tools.
Yeah, so keep that question in mind.
Hmm.
But I also wanted to mention we're gonna run the video, but it suddenly gets loud, like the volume is gonna get loud. So if you're using headphones, or if you have your volume up, just be aware. Don't jump because it's really loud. So we apologize for that. I don't know why the tool does that, but anyway, it does. So here we go with the video.
Introducing Microsoft 365 Chat, a powerful new capability in Microsoft 365 to solve your most complex problems at work. Let's say you're a marketer at a national chain of home improvement stores, and you need to get the latest on the store opening. You start your day with Copilot, asking what's hot in your inbox today. It does some thinking and gives you an overview of the most pressing items. Great. Looks like the new store opening plans could use your attention. Let's dive in deeper there. Copilot combs through all your recent emails, chats, documents, and meetings, whether you attended them or not, to get you up to speed in moments. It didn't just summarize a single document. It knew what sources to pull from and what information to extract from each. Next, you need to do some market research. Let's say you want details on square footage and the proximity of competitors to your new location. M365 Chat scours the web, and within seconds, it finds everything you're looking for. And it includes references, so you can easily fact-check the results. You're curious, how does this stack up against the other stores you're opening in the past year? Copilot figures out which stores you mean, crunches the numbers, and gives you the answer. Next on your to-do list, finalize the date and speaker for the opening event. You missed the last meeting, and this might have come up in the conversation. Copilot's got you covered, getting you up to speed in seconds. Looks like it was a dynamic discussion, and it's your responsibility to make a final decision. To do that, you need to understand all the factors at play, including the implications they have on your grand opening timeline. Copilot extracts the relevant details and puts them in an organized table, which helps bring the full picture into view. You're not seeing a clear answer, so you ask it to recommend the best date and speaker based on the constraints discussed. It not only understands the constraints, it thinks through the options to help solve your problem. There you go. Now you have a clear recommendation, so you can make the call and notify the team. Now that you've got the opening date, you've got to get customers excited. Time to write a blog post. You point Copilot to the right files and ask it to tune the message to the audience. Note the amount of detail, such as asking it to pick the top 5 things and make them prominent. Here it goes. Copilot gets to work. Okay, now you've got a blog post. This store will be the first to unveil your new home improvement concierge service, and you need a catchy tagline. Let's generate some options. This is great for when you've got a case of writer's block. Here we go. These look pretty good. Lastly, you want to highlight the impressive retail experience of the new store manager. Best source for that? LinkedIn. Copilot generates an updated blog for you that includes the new additions. Now, the opening is just around the corner, and you've got to send an email to the team so they have everything they need to push this over the finish line. Now, one of the amazing things about Copilot is you don't need to worry about things like punctuation, spelling, or being super structured. You can give it a total brain dump. You could spend the next hour putting together an email that outlines the key details, but with Copilot, you're never more than a few seconds away from a solid first draft. There was a great quote in the store walkthrough video that you want to include, but you don't remember where you last saw it or have time to search for it, let alone re-watch it to find the quote. Based on your quick description, Copilot finds the exact video you're thinking of, extracts the quote you wanted, and plugs both the quote and the video into your email. So, you like the draft, but it doesn't sound like you. Introducing Sound Like Me in Outlook. Now you can personalize any email to match your unique style and voice. And check this out. It even knows your signature. M365 Chat is a whole new way to work.
Carrie, it sounds like you weren't able to see the video. I'm not sure why that is. Like I said, we are recording it, and the video does get recorded, so you can watch it as you know during the recording. I'm really sorry. I'm not sure why you weren't seeing it. I'm hoping that everybody else was able to see it because we tested it and it was supposed to work. So I'm hoping that that's okay. But otherwise, like I say, we did record it, so you should be able to see that. It's a pretty awesome video. So I really apologize, Carrie, that you weren't able to see it.
Yeah, I agree. I do apologize if you didn't get to see it. For me, it's like my 15th time watching it, and I still get at the end like little kind of excitement of like.
So, sorry about that. Yes.
Little excitement about how how it's going to affect everyone's day to day. How that drudgery of just looking for. Remember, like one of the last parts he has, like, oh, there was a great quote from them in the video. And sometimes it happens, and you're like, oh, somebody said something, really smart or really appropriate for what I want to do. You could spend the next, 3 hours trying to find the video, rewatching it, finding that line to make sure you get it exactly right. But now with Copilot, boom, just like that. Meetings that you may have missed on a certain subject that is important to decisions that you're about to make. Oh, Copilot finds that for you. So it should be, hopefully it's really exciting, and a lot of you ended watching this video by going, wow, okay, this is serious. So now we want to bring you back down to earth.
Yeah, it's, nothing is that easy, right? So
Exactly. So how to prepare for Copilot? Because even though Copilot is not out for CSP yet, we can't purchase it yet for our organizations. There's a lot of things that you will want to do ahead of time to make sure that when you do get Copilot, you have that best first impression and it runs like you've seen in the commercial. So we talked a little bit about the technical requirements, that it does need a base license that is business standard or above. There are also things that need to be done within the tenant, like the M365 tenant, things such as enabling transcriptions for Teams meetings. That's not something that's turned on by default. Allowing you to record your Teams meetings, being able to have plugins or cross-app intelligence so that you can move from the M365 chat to the Outlook without having to copy and paste and tab, just that kind of seamless transition for those things. Then there's also what's called permissions and content management best practices to go back to the question that was asked. So the M365 tenants, your environment within Microsoft has all the capabilities to label documents, files, messages at a certain security, sensitivity level. You can think of, top secret, for your eyes only, confidential, public, and things like that. Copilot will respect those things, but most people before Copilot kind of got Microsoft calls it oversharing. There's kind of like oversharing practices. Have you ever had to share a file via Teams or via Outlook, and instead of just sharing it with that one person, you thought, let's make it simpler. I don't want to update this again. Anyone in my organization can. Anyone in my organization can. You create a SharePoint site. You don't put any controls on it. You just upload a couple of documents. Only you know where that SharePoint site is because you're the one who created it. Well, when Copilot comes into the picture, if permissions and content management has not been put in place, well, that user will have 360-degree visibility on everything on the tenant. So business owners on the call, brand new employee that comes into your office with Copilot is able to see all of the salaries of the executive suite, projected earnings, the HR file of everyone, and potentially exfiltrate a lot of data, either to put it public, to sell it. So there are a lot of dangers by not having a good permission and content management policy set in place. So this is something that you're going to want to review or to have someone review for you to make sure that when you do want to leverage those AI tools, you don't have any accidents. And I do believe that we're trying to educate people here, and other people are trying to educate people here, but some people will not understand this. So I think, I'm calling it right here, like in 2024, we're going to have some cautionary tales of companies who had their whole data exposed in a matter of minutes from accidental insider risk. So things like that are going to happen if you don't prepare correctly. When it
well,
comes,
it's like
yes.
that example, right, on ChatGPT, where a developer or a programmer shared some of their program, and then it became public because that's what ChatGPT does, right? Like
Mhm.
it crawls everywhere and it looks everywhere to find the information that you're looking for. So you got to be careful.
Exactly. And one great golden rule is if you are not paying for a service, you are not the consumer, you are the product. So whenever you're using the free AI tools, even though they say, oh, we're not going to use your data to train or this and that, you have to understand that there's nothing for free in life. So they're getting something out of you for using their service. If it's not monetary, it's going to be, data, metadata, it's going to be something. So that's one part of M365 Copilot that's great. It is going to respect the security, privacy, and especially data residency controls that you've put in place. A lot of rules, in Quebec, Bill 25 just came in, protection of customers. A lot of data sovereignty rules have been put in place in Europe with the GDPR. In the United States, you have a HIPAA compliance for anything health. So it will respect all of those things. You're not going to have to do additional work to make Copilot compliant with your specific vertical that you work in. And it's going to have, and we kind of left the URL there to the little web address to show everyone.
Oops, sorry.
Oh,
I meant to put, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this link in the chat so that everybody can go and get that link and get more information from Microsoft and this stuff, right?
Exactly. So you can see for yourself what those security, privacy, and data residency laws are, especially anyone that's in the financial or legal field will appreciate having that information available. And it will also give you some tips on how to stay up to date with changes and announcements, because even though it's not available yet on our channel for everyone, the updates are almost daily on the things that it can do. So on the next slide, there's a couple of things that we've put up to kind of show like the latest, but even this slide is no longer the latest, because just yesterday there was the end of Microsoft Ignite, which is a conference for developers and all that, and they announced a ton of new updates and features on Copilot. So very quickly on this one, Copilot in Teams Phone, so it will understand just pure audio on Teams Phone. So any contact center that's using Teams Phone will want to leverage the new features from Copilot for that. There are now third-party plugins. There's a great video that was uploaded by Microsoft yesterday on the integration between Salesforce and Copilot to get even more insights for anyone that does anything with customer relationship management type of programs. It's been announced that in Word it has the designer integration. So once you've written that nice blog post or that nice proposal, you can now add a banner image at the top or have it reformatted to be more like a magazine article. There's now Python in Excel for Copilot. So now you can kind of program things on the website, have marketing campaigns tracking done by Copilot. There's the Copilot Lab that's available where you can kind of learn how to prompt better because it is a new thing. Let's try to go back in time. Whenever the mouse was introduced, people had to learn how to use the mouse. Whenever Google came out, people had to learn how to use search engines. There were even courses on how to Google properly. The prompts, it's a new way to talk with your machine, if you will, and there is an art to it, but it is very simple because it is, what they call natural language. So in a sense, it's like when you're in first grade and you're learning about, how to write a proper sentence. You want to have, the subject, the verb, the object, for it to be a complete sentence. It's the same thing with the prompt. So you want to have a persona, some context, and an objective. So you can say, as a financial analyst, look at these five files, of sales reports and determine the top 5 customers we should focus on next year. So if you have those 3 components, you're going to get a great answer versus if you say, what's the most profitable clients, next year? If you give it less context, like the more information you give it, a little bit like in that video that we showed, like the brain dump aspect, put as many details as possible, you'll get a much better and clearer result. There was, and I say there was because up until yesterday, it was called Bing Chat and Bing Chat Enterprise, but as of yesterday, it's been renamed Copilot and Copilot Pro. So rest in peace, Bing. You were nobody used you. Sorry. So you will see that that kind of naming change available. And then again, like I said, yesterday they announced Copilot for whiteboards. So if you're really, really bad at making drawings on whiteboards and all that, well, now you can talk to Copilot. It will make those drawings for you, and it's actually pretty impressive what it can do. There's Copilot for Loop to be able to have real-time collaboration and add people on different projects, from the M365 chat. There's one that I really, really, really like is Copilot Studio, where you will now be able to add specific things to Copilot's persistent memory so that it will look at those things first whenever people prompt it within the company. For example, because the holidays are coming up, vacation is on the mind of everyone. So how many days off do I have left? How many days of vacation can I take over the holidays? Well, you as a business owner or the IT admin within the company will be able to select certain components, certain documents that will be kind of like, your internal encyclopedia for user reference, any knowledge bases, any, frequently asked questions. You can upload those to that persistent memory so that instead of scouring, all of the data within your enterprise and finding perhaps some outdated information and then giving you the source, obviously, that you can check. Well, now you have confidently very quick answers from Copilot right there. You can also, especially like on the educational or training side of things, you can have it, you can preload some course materials for it so that it takes particular attention to the attendees, related to science, math, English, French, or any of the other 19 languages that will be available on day one. And I could go on and on and on and on, but I would just say, just if you have some time, like over the weekend, go to YouTube, type in Microsoft 365 or Microsoft Mechanics. All of those videos are there. There's a lot of very small videos as well, like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, that show just one aspect of what Copilot can do in Teams, in Outlook, in Word, and that will definitely get you excited on the future work.
Excellent. All right.
And then finally, some insights on AI tools and services in general. So, this does apply to Copilot, but it's not the only AI tool in town. It's almost like a new kind of .com era where every single company is just adding AI to whatever they're doing to sound like they're part of the future. So one of the first points to make is that there is no native communication across technology platforms on day one. There's integrations, like I just mentioned. Salesforce is part of those integrations into M365, even though it's not done by Microsoft. And companies are rushing to try to add communication between their services and Copilot. But on day one, be careful if you have your technology stack across multiple different technology platforms, because we're looking at frequent updates from on the Microsoft side, Copilot, and on those third-party services side. So it's potential that you're going to have some downtime, some shaky integrations, some things that are not working. So it would be best to try to maybe pick one, company that you go with for most of these things first as they mature. The second point is that all of these AI tools need to be trained. If you didn't know, a fun fact, that GPT is generative pre-trained transformer. So it's already trained on being able to have a conversation with you, but you want it to be trained on your historical company data. So we talked a little bit earlier about how it's everything, on the Microsoft graphs, or everything on the Microsoft ecosystem. So this means that if today you are using non-Microsoft products to carry on your daily tasks, the most common one would be whenever you're doing any type of interaction with customers, you may not be using Teams. You may be using Zoom or Slack or, God forbid, Facebook. If you're doing that right now, well, it would be a good idea to switch to Teams today and to turn on your recording and transcriptions today, so that in 3 months, 4 months, 6 months from now, when you do get Copilot, it will have access to all of that data. It will be able to give you some insights on your last 6 months of customer interactions, if there's any trends, if there's any warning signs, if there's any, kind of hidden gems in those conversations. Whereas if you haven't been using Microsoft Teams and you decide to just switch when you get Copilot, it's going to be the best college grad that you get, to work for your company, never makes any spelling errors, knows how to count, knows math, physics, and all that, but knows nothing about your company. So it's going to be a bit of a disappointment on the insights that it can give you. Like it will say, oh well, it's sunny today. It's like, I could have told you that, but what about all of the historical data? So it's a good idea to think about kind of consolidating those services on the Microsoft stack. You may have some files on an on-prem server, that's in the closet and working very well, no compelling reason to move that to the cloud. I can look at my real estate data for the last 10 years without any issues. Well, Copilot can't. So you want to migrate that to maybe OneDrive or Azure, Azure Blob Storage, like we mentioned earlier, so that whenever you do get Copilot, it can look at if there's any trends, any neighborhoods, where real estate was better for you in the last 20 years, any type of client profile that, kind of pattern that you didn't kind of pick up over the last 10 years, or is there any similar, pricing structure on, the offer, the counter offer on the market. So it's going to be like supercharging productivity for the people that do it properly. But much like, trying to move from one house to another, you don't want to start packing boxes and preparing when the moving truck is in your driveway. You want to do that long ahead of time. So this is the long ahead of time. Get started today. Review those company policies on data. The third point is really, it's less obvious, but if you think about it, it does make sense. When we started, we talked about, the requirements for M365 Copilot. So you do need a base license. For some of you, it may mean an upgrade from either, Exchange Online Plan 1 or Business Basic or something like that to at least Business Standard and hopefully Business Premium or above. All other companies will also have a similar structure. So if you are using 5 or 6 different providers for your technology stack internally, you may be facing 5 or 6 price increases to be able to leverage the AI tools that come with those different services. So it would be a good idea to review your current technology stack and perhaps choose to consolidate some of those services. Like obviously, full transparency, I'm very, very Microsoft centric. So the example I'm going to give you is that let's say you are again using Slack or Zoom for your conversations, and those are costly as well. They have a cost associated with them. Once the AI options will be available for those, it will be a price increase. Well, if instead you were to switch to Teams, which is very likely already included in the licensing that you're doing, not only will you have some cost savings right now, but whenever you move to the AI, kind of part of your digital journey, you will not be facing, 4, 5, 6 different price increases. And then finally, it's just a word of caution, right? Because it is all the rage, news every week, almost every day on a new AI tool from a new company, and lots of startups. Amazon bought a 12-person startup yesterday, and that got their stock to move up by a couple percentage just based on the fact that it was an AI company. I mean, it's 12 people. So you may have, your sister's boyfriend, cousin, who's a computer whiz, just brought out this new app that just does everything for you. Proceed with caution. This is brand new technology that actually offers new attack vectors. So that's just new ways, new doors to be open, new back doors to be open in your environment. And no one actually knows, how that's going to play out. So be very careful whenever you are opening those doors, because data, IP, confidential files can leak very, very fast, and it is with the nature of the AI tools. Traditionally, whenever we talk, to the internet, when we're on the internet, it's a one-way conversation. You load the website for, CBC or whatnot. You have a couple of links that you can click, but it's not like you're not changing the documents. You're not querying, things. You're just kind of reading what's displayed. All of the AI tools, since they don't have eyes, they have to have full access to that data to analyze it. So instead of using HTTP or HTML, they actually use what's called WebSockets, which is pretty much a 2-lane highway between that content and your environment. So it is very, very fast lanes for bi-directional conversations. So again, it might be safe, it might be great, but be careful when adopting those new services.
Excellent. So we will get to, there's been a few questions that have come in while you were talking, Alex. So I'm going to get them for in just a minute. I just wanted to mention that we, like I mentioned at the beginning, we do have the free ebook available to you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link in the chat so you can download it. But while you're doing that, like I said, there were a couple of questions that came in. So one of them actually was, you know, the video that we played. Kathleen is asking, do we have a link to that? And I'm not sure that we do.
Yeah, it's well, it's on the YouTube channel for Microsoft 365. If you want more instructions than that, I can find the actual link for you. But because we were doing this webinar, I closed all my other things, so I don't have access to it.
Why don't we do this? Why don't you send me the link, and then Kathleen, for sure, I can send it to you. And if there's anybody else who wants it, I can always just ping me, and I'll be able to send that to you. Next question is from Carrie. She says, are there any safety net security in place if the system detects that the way we use Copilot is potentially exposed to people outside our permissions or network?
It's a loaded question. Some of that, yes. So as far as the permissions are concerned, like if you don't have an identity governance put in place and random new employee is accessing files that the CEO has put on the tenant, there will not be any alerts, right? Because there's no policy set in place or anything like that. But for anything that has been set in place, those controls, those safety nets will be put in place. And for anyone on the IT admin side, there will be constant reports on the actual usage of Copilot by the users, not what exactly they're doing, but that they are using it. So it will be kind of another fail safe to see, oh, Johnny, who says he's barely used Copilot, looks like he's actually using it for Excel even at 3 in the morning. Like it's going to be ways for you to find out, and Microsoft will be coming out with new tools for security. There is even a Copilot for security that was announced yesterday that has proactive attack disruption. So if it detects that there's any type of kind of ransomware attack in place, within seconds it starts to disrupt the attack to limit the damages. Like say Paul was compromised and Paul has access to like his cell phone and a PC and a virtual machine. Well, as it detects the attack on the cell phone, it will remove access to the other parts to make sure that it doesn't kind of contaminate the whole enterprise. So yes, lots of security, lots of safety in place, but nothing beats preparing. Nothing beats putting the right foundations into place.
Peter asks, it appears it will require a lot of data storage for conversations if recorded. Any idea on where requirements are headed?
Well, as with the Business Premium and E3 and E5, it goes, all of that data, the Teams chat conversations, the meetings conversations, transcripts, recordings, and all of that goes into OneDrive. And OneDrive storage for Business Premium and above is unlimited. So you will never run into that issue. The only thing that I could think of would be if you take those conversations and you create a SharePoint site, where instead of being on OneDrive, it's on SharePoint. SharePoint does have a lot more data limitations. So it would be, just to make sure you download that document from MicroWage, the ups and downs, and talk to a specialist to make sure that you have that architecture set in place so that you're not putting, like you're putting your groceries in the trunk and not on the front seat with you.
Okay, hopefully that answers your question. And yeah, we're all learning, right? This is we're going to be learning together as we go along. Other question from Carrie: can new attack vectors be released from a person that is invited into a Teams meeting?
No, because of the way Microsoft has Teams meetings set up. You may have especially early in the pandemic, heard the term Zoom bomb, where unintended people were invited to Zoom meetings, government meetings, and then bad things happened. Between 2020 and today, you have never heard of a Teams bomb. Like it does not happen for Teams because of the security architecture. It's what's called the zero trust philosophy and the just enough access approach from Microsoft that would prevent external users from being able to share content, share files, allow you to click on that content and those files without having to put extra controls into place. You would have to specifically allow that external user to share a file for them to be able to have any way in, which is the thing with security always, right? You can put all the right security protocols in place, but if people leave the front door open, it's But great question.
Okay, I am not seeing any more questions right now, and I know we're beyond our time a little bit, but I want to thank all of you for joining us today. We encourage you to download the ebook and reach out to your local microage with any questions. This was our last webinar of 2023, and we'll be back in 2024 with more great webinars for you. And with that, I know it's early, but we did want to wish everyone happy holidays and health and peace and success for the coming year, because yes, it's almost the end of the year. Can you believe that? I don't know where 2023 went. And once again, Alex, thank you very much for that presentation. Really appreciate it. Learned a lot as usual. So, and it feels like we're on the cusp of a paradigm shift here. So it's exciting and a little scary at the same time. But like you said earlier, change is scary, right? But
we're human nature. We always fear change, and the best way to go about it is to dive in head first.
Yeah, one foot in front of the other, right?
Yeah, I can tell you everything I know about swimming, but until you jump in that lake, you're not going to know.
True. So that's it. So thank you all for spending the last hour and a bit with us. We really appreciate it, and happy holidays, and see you in 2024. Have a great day, everybody.
Happy holidays. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Thank you.